I'll go from left to right on my screen. Fabrizio Buonamassa, how are you, sir?
Ciao, tutto bene, caro. How are you?
Excellent. The man, the myth, the legend, Laurent Picciotto, how are you, sir?
Very good.
And the new millennium's sex symbol and greatest designer. How are you?
I'm very well, Wei. How are you?
Mo, you look amazing, incidentally. You look super slim, like and trim, amazing, you know?
It doesn't. It's not a free lunch. It comes with a lot of concentration, and I'm over it. I must admit. But you too,
Nice.
Wei. You do look incredibly healthy. You must have gone through a regime.
I was eating vegetables like a fucking bunny rabbit and exercising nonstop. But I'm in a
Watch
new
it.
adventure in my life.
The first couple of meetings, it will all go pear-shaped.
Yes.
We just need to meet a couple of times, and then after 4 pints of Negronis, it will be back in the old days when we used to be happier.
Exactly. Well, to be clear, I never stopped drinking so that I don't want my body to not be used to the alcohol, because this can kill you, right? Like
Other way you take a risk.
Exactly. So for my health, I have to keep drinking constantly and very consistently. So guys, I want to congratulate you on one of the coolest watches I've ever seen. You know, the Chronopassion Bvlgari Octo Finissimo Tattoo Aria. I love this watch. I hear you broke the internet and everyone's mobile phones and social media accounts like exploded. Laurent, maybe if I can start with you first. I want to go back to when you sold your entire watch collection and then basically became a Octo Finissimo collector, right? Like that became the record. You have like 6 or 7 watches, so you're very focused on your collection. But I think for you, you were like, you know, people had made ultra thin watches before, but they were dorky, right? They weren't cool. And this was the first time that it was an ultra thin watch that had this muscularity, this presence, but on the wrist felt like it disappeared. I mean, that was what was special to you. Is that correct, sir?
Yeah, very, very correct. I mean, I was looking at the Finissimo at the wrist of a lot of insiders, and you were in, of course. So I was, and after the auction, I went to Macau. After, I mean, just a couple of days, I win $50,000 in the casino. And I went to the Bvlgari shop in this area, and I say, oh, it's cool. But at that time, I did not carry the brand. So I say, oh, I will wait a little, but we have to carry this brand. And when I went to the Basel Fair after that, I was front window looking at the old Finissimo, and Michael Ardelet just came out of the booth, and he say, "Oh, it's cool. You like it?" I say, "I love it." But you got an interest. I mean, even to carry it. I say, "Of course," but of course, because we are, you know, really focused. It will be cool if I can carry mostly or only the Finissimo. I say, okay. So and start like that. And when I start to wear my first titanium Octo, it was a revelation. I told the other day that we did an emailing to our customers and say, okay, the Octo Finissimo will be probably the last watch that we will sell to you. Because after that, when you take another one on the wrist, it seems that very huge, very heavy, and not as comfortable as the Octo. But we will be able to sell you plenty of Finissimo. and I was the first happy victim of that, because actually I bought already 6 Finissimo, and for the last 2 years, honestly, I don't wear a lot of other watches, because I bought again after the auctions. I mean, several watches because I feel naked, and but really the Octo is every day on the wrist, because this is something so evident, so logical, and it was funny, you know, during the 48 hours that I got like plenty of messages that people will want to buy the Tattoo Aria. One guy that we met quite a long time ago, because it was the first edition of limited panerai that we did, so it was quite some years ago. He sent me a pic with all the watches he got, and most of them was, the trendy 5 brands that we know at the moment. And he said, I need that. I said, but you have to start probably with a regular Octo, because this one is the cherry on the cake. So,
yeah.
But and honestly, when I saw the the box full of watches, for me, it was really. I mean, my interest was really different than some years ago, because we need something rare. We need something with another sensation, and with the Tattoo Aria, we need something really, really different, fun, conversation piece, with the same element of the regular Finissimo.
Amazing. So Fabrizio, Laurent says something which I feel is really true. But after 2014 and until today, for me, this was the new icon, right? And it was like every guy that I knew had taste in watches and who was cool, and had courage, was a leader and not a sheep, Pretty soon he had an Octo Finissimo, at least one, if not 2. And what I love about it is there's a lot of other watches that are popular because they're trendy from a popular culture perspective. But when I see someone with an Octo Finissimo on, I know they have taste and they know a little bit about watches also. So how does that make you feel to have created this icon, essentially, that's dominated this part of this time that we live in?
Wei, you are very kind. Honestly, I don't know if we are talking about an iconic piece. We will see in the future. I'm very happy about that. We are very happy about the results of the Octo. For us, it was, let me say, something natural. We didn't try to follow some other brands. We just think about our opportunities and our know-how inside the company. So in a certain moment, 10 years ago, more or less, even before, the Octo Finissimo started in a very, let me say, natural way. We discovered this amazing know-how that comes from our manufacturing side, and we say, why not? Why don't you try to make a contemporary ultra-thin watch with this amazing design and this very unique know-how? This is a bit the roots, the DNA of our company. So combine together the Italian design, very contemporary, and the Swiss watchmaking know-how. So let me say that we are very happy about the results of the Octo Finissimo, the entire collection, the 7 world records in a row, and this Finissimo Tattoo Aria. It's a bit a crazy idea, and we started to discuss. I think, if I remember well, more than 4 years ago, but the same time was so early, it was impossible to produce it. And today, I think it was the right time, even with the right friends, let me say, around the table. So I can say that we will see. We are working very, very hard on the Octo Finissimo. We will see in the future new executions with new movements. But for sure, now we are very happy about the success of the tattoo Aria that we made with Mo and with Laurent.
I hope it's the first Tattoo Aria of a series of Tattoo Aria. I was watching Laurent's Instagram TV, and I think there was a hint that might be the case. But Mo, I want to ask you, I know you were one of the first guys to have a Octo Finissimo, and I always respect your taste in watches immensely, and you're exactly that kind of guy I was talking about. But I love what you were saying in the Chronopassion Instagram TV about really respecting this watch and really respecting its shape, respecting its thinness in the same way that you would respect the proportions of someone's arm if you were creating a tattoo for them. So in your process, what was it that you wanted to impart on this watch in terms of creating this tattoo-like expression on the bracelet, the dial in the case?
Well, first of all, when you work with something you respect a lot, it gives you some sense of responsibility, but also it feeds your creativity even more, because sky's the limit at that point. Octo Finissimo in this case offered himself as a blank canvas. like an empty arm, like an arm with no tattoo or any other part. So what do you do with that black canvas? Especially, I don't have a very narrow repertoire. I got a repertoire that's quite wide. What do you do? And it didn't come without trials. We made and we did a lot of trials, a lot of sketches, a lot of things, until we recognized what was the path to follow. So the incredible refinement of the Finissimo is the fact that the bracelet and the case are pretty much the same thinness, and really it's not just a stunt to say it's like a second skin, because it is like a second skin. It's like Wei, how many times we've had a conversation throughout the years on how difficult it is to create a good-looking bracelet. We are stuck to the same 2 or 3, the classics. We don't name them, but we name them. There are the 2 or 3 which are iconic. Everybody else falls a little bit short. In this case, and that's another plus for the Finissimo, is that this watch not only is iconic, it's iconic also for the bracelet and for the dimension. So it's like being back, as I always say, in the 70s or 80s, when a watch defines an era and defines a lifestyle. And they managed with the Finissimo. We bounced back and forth with Fabrizio in order to find the right language, the right narrative to put on the Finissimo, because the Finissimo is by itself already very well designed, and it tells a story by itself. What do you do? How you embellish it? Of course, giving the brief of a quasi or of a tattoo over a watch, we can't be minimal. And you know me, I'm not a minimal guy. I need to explain story in everything I do. So we try different motives, different direction, until we pick this one, which I think as a first example of hopefully many more, he embodies everything. It's very romantic. There's a night sky scenery. There's a Bvlgari stars and constellation. There's this romantic moon with small seconds. So I like always a bit of romanticism and a little bit of a storytelling. And we didn't stop just with the dial. That's the main thing. We just had to merge from underneath the bezel to merge into the bracelet like a tattoo would do. So with that in mind, the result is striking. It's rich, but of course that's what we wanted to create. We wanted to create not so much a conversation piece, like as I said, like a gimmicky stunt, but almost like a story that you can tell by completely revolving your wrist all the time. In every angle you catch this watch, there's an angle, there's a detail, there's something. So you can tell this story, and you can tell the story by revolving your wrist. And so there is almost like a triptych, like, the 6 o'clock strap bracelet, the case, and the 12 o'clock bracelet. So you can tell that story in a very nice, decorative, romantic way. So that was the aim, and hopefully we managed to hit the spot.
Well, Mo, I was very impressed with the Japanese architect Tadao Ando's watch until I saw yours. And I have to say, perhaps yours is even more mind-blowing. So, Laurent, I want to ask you a little bit, because one of the things I think we all love about the Octo Finissimo is it defined a new aesthetic. And the aesthetic is one of industrial cool, right? Sandblasted titanium, monochrome. So I know that there were some initial efforts that were made to try to hand engrave the watch, but because you're working with a dial that's just 0.3 mm thick, and has to remain flat in order for the watch to be put together correctly, because you're working with a case, a bezel, a bracelet that's so thin, ultimately the idea was to go to laser engraving. And I think the result is great. What do you think about the result? And I know you liked it because it was also allowed you to be incredibly faithful to Mo's designs.
But the thing is, at the beginning, when I got the feedback that we were doing something with an engraving, honestly, I was not convinced. Even if the engraver was a high master to do that, but at my opinion, even if I didn't see the result, but the result was not efficient. For me, I was much more since the beginning in the idea of a kind of laser technique, because for me it was much more, close from the real tattoo, and the other point was the result also is something quite new, because I mean, the engraving could be fantastic. We did several unique pieces with different brand, and it could be really something. But compared to the philosophy and the meaning of this tattoo piece since the beginning, at my opinion, I was really really focused on something finally who came, but and probably we lose quite a little of time during the process about that, because even if the laser today, as Fabrizio explained it the other day, is also a long process. Even if we can think that this is just a 5-minute operation with the machine, but so I'm very glad that finally this solution was the final solution, and the result is very interesting because as also Mo told that the other day, that the definition is as precise as a master tattoo. So I think this is really something fantastic. The other point is, the idea came also with the Revolution cover, when this young Italian artist was wearing the chrono in the Basel Fair, and it was exactly when I went to the booth and I saw the cover. It clicked in my mind because the Octo, as we all know, is full of angle, and I was really, looking at the cover of Revolution with this guy and the Octo, and the guy was with tattoo on the arm, and I was feeling that it could be so cool that the tattoo continue on the watch and play with the curve and different or not, because Mo did also some very symmetric sketch also, which is super cool. But it was really the way to play inside. All the angles of the Octo. So I'm very glad about the result, and in my opinion, and this is after a question of marketing, but probably we'll talk about that a little later, even if emotion, at my opinion, is always more important than the marketing. But it was also risky, it was audacious also to do that to such an iconic watch, and because the definition of the Octo also is quite far from something that when you cannot take out something, it means that okay, we have to stop, this is something perfect. So here to add the drawing on it could be disturbing, and even if the talent of Mo and Fabrizio are behind and the warning of that, but I was sure that it would be crazy. And when I received the first sketches of Mo, I was like, oh my god, we have to come out with 80% of the draw, because this is so cool. And this is the next point. What are we going to do? For the next step, because you mentioned before Fabrizio or Mo come to the meeting, you say, okay, what's next? And the next is very it's a big question, because this is sold out already. There is a lot of people, they mentioned that they got the Tadao, they got a lot of Octo, and they really, really want to get this piece. And of course, the frustration is difficult. On the other hand, 10 pieces, as I mentioned, is real luxury. So I think we have to come out with some other drawing that we have already. This is a question, but I'm thinking, but I don't know. It would be interesting to get your input from Fabrizio. To stay with the same quantity, probably. Of course, the temptation to do a little more, I mean, like 20 or more, is always in the mind of a retailer. But on the other hand, you don't want to do something, you know, would twist the attraction, would twist the trust and the belief of the watch lovers. So I don't know.
Well, I think that's what's so cool about Chronopassion is it's a place that makes people dream, right? It's it's not just to buy watches, but you go for discovery, you go to learn, and you go to dream because there are very special things there. So I understand what your dilemma is. As a collector of Octo Finissimos, if you want to increase, I don't think I'm going to complain. But anyway, that's up to you. So Fabrizio, I want to ask you a question. So like the Octo Finissimo for me, sometimes I feel like in the context of 2014 relative to today, like in 2014, it was like this incredible like beauty that had so much potential. And then as opposed to today, where it's like she came back from university and everyone looks at her and she looks like a supermodel, right? Or Brigitte Bardot, and everyone wants to date her, right? So like everyone wants to be your partner today. Like everyone wants to do a collaboration with Bvlgari. Everyone wants a special edition, Octo Finissimo. Why did you choose Laurent and Chronopassion, and why did you choose Coppoletta?
But you know, we are very happy about the results. As I said before, we receive more or less every day requests for a special edition on the Octo Finissimo, starting from the beginning of last year, I'm honest. And we decided to choose 2 or 3, 4 very important partners to develop the Octo Finissimo in the future. And that's why we say many times no, even to important forums, important blogger, important website, on dealers. But the idea is that you can see some limited edition on the market, and that's it. And the idea is that we don't need to have more limited edition with 100 pieces, 120 pieces, 200 pieces. So the idea is to work on the Octo Finissimo with some very important partners and very few limited edition in a very short quantities. This is the idea. That's why at the moment we are able, even because we receive many requests, even for the common, let me say, dealers, and we are always in scarcity on many references, like the Octo Finissimo S with the blue dial, with the Octo Finissimo S with the satin steel dial. So the idea is it's not just to make the Finissimo for limited edition, but even for the common, let me say, for the regular series. But for sure, limited edition are very important, even because with the limited edition we can show a different soul of the Octo Finissimo. So we discussed with Mo 4 years ago, and I have to say even thanks to you, because it was you that introduced me to Mo, if I remember well, in London, in our hotel 5 or 6 years ago, during a dinner with some collectors and friends. So as you can see, with Mo we love the same artist, the same Italian flavor. For us, the Octo Finissimo was a manifesto futurista at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
So the idea was to play with many different design and drawings, but at the end we decided to leave more room inside the dial and the bracelet with more organic shapes. It was not so easy at the beginning. So coming back on your question, the idea is to have a few limited edition with very important partners, even for the future.
Thank you very much. And Mo, how does it feel to begin this conversation 4 years ago and now finally see the watch at fruition? Have you had it on your wrist yet?
Well, no, because the only lucky one is Laurent, who managed. I haven't seen it live yet, but it's like believe me, I printed it out, I cut it out, I put a piece of paper around my wrist, I tried to play. I did everything. I almost started engraving my rose gold one, but then I stopped. Even I have sense. If I had one more Negroni, I would have started engraving. I stopped there, okay? I didn't want to do that. But, you know, all things they take time. Everything takes time. I mean, like choosing this technique, it couldn't be a better fit for what I envisaged, because laser manages to really get every single millimeter of gradient perfectly as you designed it. And the idea of this Finissimo, its logo, its bracelet, and the style, which is even the name Finissimo, it's best suited with laser instead of a flourishing hand engraving, because I think it's technique, it's future, it's slickness. And I think for what I designed, that technique is the best, period. What this technique could lead to, well, we've been discussing briefly, but it's sky's the limit. God knows what will come out. Of course, it seems like a long time, 4 years, and thank you, Wei, as well. Like Fabrizio said, you introduced us years ago, and when the Octo Finissimo didn't have, the bracelet was about to be completed, and it was already an incredible watch. I remember that gray leather strap was beautifully integrated. When the bracelet came out, it was like cherry on the cake. It's full language and its full vocabulary, completely completed. And, it became, as we said before, the icon that it is today. And of course, the outcome, even though it takes years and years, I think the outcome, but most of all, it's not just the outcome, because, we can talk between us, between Fabrizio, myself, and Laurent, or with you, Wei, and say it's beautiful, it's beautiful. It's like the reception of this watch, even though a quirky, strong, like, it's not an easy watch. I mean, it's not, it's quite a rich watch. The reception, I think it was quite overwhelming from any angle. So I could not be any happier, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's 10 watches, but I think the communication value was probably the equivalent of if you made 1,000 watches, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's what's awesome about it. So I know you guys are all music fans. Mo, you're probably one of the guys with the deepest knowledge of music in general. Laurent, you own your own guitar company and are a consummate musician, and Fabrizio, I know it's important to you too. So one of the things that I always think about music is when you have a great band, you don't want to break up the band. You just got to keep going. You want more albums, right? So for me, I think you guys got to keep going. It can't be 10 watches. How do you guys feel? Would you agree?
Well, I totally agree, but there is also, I mean, my honest feeling also is because the process, even if it won't be the same long process, because at the beginning it was really, a start from scratch. But I think that we don't have, if we do that way, we don't have to do it. In the too long time in the future. I think we have, not tomorrow, maybe next week. but no, I think honestly that it could be probably interesting to do something maybe twice a year if we can. Oh, by the way, the really first customer is in the shop, and
wow.
this is
very good.
And this is a guy who fly from Bologna.
Wow.
His tattoo. He sent us a pic, and he's also a bodybuilder. So I want to see if we are okay about the sizing. But it's funny. I just saw that the guy just came in because he sent us the wire and he sent us his flight ticket too. Because he said I can't wait more, so I will be hopeless on Monday morning.
Amazing.
Fantastic, that's dedication. I think we won't split up until we do a black and a white album.
That's right. What do you think, Fabrizio?
I think it's a good idea. The creativity is not a problem, you know, when you play with Mo, with Laurent. Laurent push a lot. Are you ready? Are you ready? So we discuss a lot about Mo with several drawings about different meanings. And after the technique was, honestly, it was a nightmare. One of the most difficult limited edition that we ever made. First of all, the engraving by hand, it was a bit an obsession for us to add value to the watch. And after we discussed a lot with Mo, and Mo said, but Fabrizio, even the laser would be so good. So at the end, we were obliged to use the laser because it was impossible made by hand. But it was a very, very long process. I think, Mo, if I remember well, I saw some picture in your studio. It was September 2020, if I remember well. No, 2019.
Yeah.
It was a very, very long process. So
yeah, 1919, yes.
The result was fantastic. And well, we will see for the future. It's an open discussion that we're going to have with Mo, with our French division in Paris, and we will see.
In that case, gentlemen, Laurent, since your customer is here to pick up the watch, I think it's best that you go and see him because I know he would love to meet you. So thank you so much for your time. Congratulations.
You know,
Thank you, Wei.
Let me show you if I can.
Give my regards to him because he contacted me yesterday, and I go with my parents to the seaside, very, very near where he lives. So next time I'll say hi to him. There you go. Hope it's not Robert. Hope it's not Robert.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And congratulations, guys. Bravo.
Thank you. Thank you, brother.
Ciao, cari. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.